On my first question, since Senator Durbin and I worked together with Senator Lee on writing that act, the First Step Act, I'm going to ask Senator Durbin if he finds anything wrong with this first question to let me know. But it's one of two big issues that I want to ask you. So I have concerns about activism in implementing the First Step Act. Senator Durbin and I spent a long time negotiating the bill, 3 or 4 years. I'm concerned about attempts to rewrite it because of policy disagreements with compromises that we had to make to get the bill with the majority to get passed, even get the majority leader to even bring it up. So I'm asking for a commitment to implement the First Step Act as Congress wrote it. Now, it's pretty difficult for you folks sitting there not being involved in this to know just exactly. So I guess I'm really just asking for a good faith effort on each of your parts to look as best you can to everything that went into writing the act, to compromising to get it passed, and to carry it out pretty much as written. And I know most of you are going to say, well, you look at the statute and go from the statute. But I think this is a case where you got to kind of go deeper to know what we had in mind and what we accomplished. So I'm interested in a commitment on your part to implementing the First Step Act. I guess I'd like to have a yes or no from the 7 of you. Or if you have some sort of reservation about my request, to expect that to reflect or to state that reservation. So we'll start with you on the left here.
Right. Thank you, Senator Grassley. No reservations here. I expect to be working along with my colleagues here, trying to get to consensus on most things. So I'll be working with the rest of them, and I expect most of them will have no reservations too. And I'm not speaking for them, though.
Ms. May.
Thank you. I agree with Judge Reeves. In the past, the commission has historically addressed new legislation pretty quickly after it passes. It hasn't been able to do that this time, but that's usually primary on the commission's agenda. And of course, the commission is obligated under the statute to do that consistent with everything in Title 18.
No reservations, Senator Grassley. I feel strongly that Congress is the policymaker and that it is the commission's role to implement Congress's intent.
Likewise, Senator, no reservations.
Senator, I have no reservations whatsoever.
Senator, First Step was an amazing accomplishment. Thank you for it, you and your colleagues in the Congress for it. And you have my unqualified commitment to implement it in accordance with both the letter and the spirit and the history of the legislation.
Senator, I have no reservations.
Okay. My second issue, the commission hasn't had a quorum for a number of years. In that case, in that time, the circuit courts have had conflicting interpretations of several guidelines. They've also invalidated some guidelines and concluded that comments were inconsistent with the guidelines. So I want to know if you can make it a priority to address circuit splits, guidelines that have been invalidated by a court, or comments that have been struck down.
Thank you, Senator Grassley. If I am confirmed, I will work with the commissioners and to see what will be the priorities of the commission. But I can assure you that one of those will be to make sure that we deal with the circuit splits, because that is a troubling matter.
Thank you. I agree with Judge Reeves again about the need to work collaboratively with this group in setting those priorities. And again, historically, the commission has established as priorities circuit splits on guideline interpretation issues, and I don't see that being a problem this time around either. Thank you.
Absolutely, Senator. I think that resolving circuit splits should be a top priority.
I'm very sensitive to this issue as a circuit judge, and I do agree that we need to address this immediately.
I agree as well. That what springs to mind as a priority as well, I believe that you mentioned, is updating the guidelines in light of the changes to the law with the First Step Act. There are some provisions, as you mentioned, related to compassionate release that circuit courts, including the Sixth Circuit, where I sit, have held that the policy statements are no longer applicable given the changes in the law, changes to the safety valve, and other changes that need to be updated. So I look forward, I hope, if we're fortunate enough to be confirmed, to work with Congress and the commissioners in updating those provisions.
Senator, yes, I agree with your assessment of this as a priority for the newly populated commission.
Senator, I also agree and would just note that the Supreme Court had several cert petitions recently highlighting divisions within the lower courts, similar to what you mentioned, and specifically called for a commission that could assist in the resolution of these issues.
Thanks, Senator Grassley. Senator Feinstein?
Mr. Chairman, I was thinking back. I actually served on the California Women's Board of Terms and Parole, and we set the sentences in California for women convicted of felonies, and the commission still does.